Your mind is either your greatest weapon or your worst enemy. And right now, for most people, it's working against them. Every time you face resistance, every time things get uncomfortable, every time the path gets unclear, your mind starts looking for the exit. It whispers reasons to quit. It magnifies the problems. It minimizes your capability. And if you haven't trained it to do otherwise, it will sabotage every goal you set. This isn't about motivation. Motivation is temporary. This isn't about positive thinking. Positive thinking without action is delusion. This is about training your mind like you would train your body. Building mental muscle that doesn't give up when the weight gets heavy. Creating psychological resilience that doesn't crack under pressure. Most people's minds are weak. Not because they lack potential, but because they've never been trained. They've been conditioned to seek comfort, avoid difficulty, and quit when things don't go as planned. But champions think differently. Their minds have been forged in the fire of persistence. They've trained their thoughts to see obstacles as opportunities and setbacks as setups for comebacks. If you want to join that elite group of people who finish what they start, who push through when others quit, who turn their dreams into reality, then you need to start training your mind to never give up. Not sometimes. Not when you feel like it. Never. Chapter 1. Understand that quitting is a habit you've been practicing. Most people don't realize that quitting is a skill they've been perfecting for years. Every time you stop working out after 2 weeks, every time you abandon a project halfway through, every time you give up on a goal when it gets difficult, you're not just failing at that one thing. You're training your mind to be a quitter. You're teaching your brain that when things get tough, the solution is to walk away. And here's the dangerous part. Each time you quit, it becomes easier to quit the next time. Your mind creates neural pathways that default to giving up. It starts to believe that quitting is normal, that it's acceptable, that it's just who you are. But that's a lie you've been telling yourself. Quitting isn't your nature. It's a habit you've developed through repetition. Think about it. When you were a child learning to walk, you fell down hundreds of times. But you didn't quit. You got back up. You tried again. You persisted until you mastered it. That persistence is still inside you. It's just been buried under years of conditioning that taught you it's okay to give up when things get hard. The first step in training your mind to never give up is recognizing that quitting has become your default response to difficulty. It's not a character flaw. It's not permanent. It's just a pattern you've reinforced through repetition. And patterns can be changed. Every successful person you admire has faced moments where quitting seemed like the rational choice. The difference is they recognized that those moments weren't endings. They were tests. Tests of their commitment, tests of their character, tests of their willingness to become the person their dreams required them to be. Your mind is constantly looking for evidence to support its beliefs. If you believe you're someone who quits, your mind will find reasons to quit. It will magnify the obstacles. It will minimize your progress. It will convince you that success isn't possible for you. But if you start believing you're someone who persists, your mind will start looking for ways to continue. It will find solutions instead of excuses. It will focus on possibilities instead of problems. The truth is, you quit because you've made quitting comfortable. You've created stories that justify it. You tell yourself you're being realistic. You convince yourself that some things just aren't meant to be. You rationalize that you're making space for better opportunities. But deep down, These are just sophisticated ways of avoiding the discomfort that comes with growth. Starting today, you need to understand that every time you persist when your mind wants to quit, you're not just moving closer to your goal. You're rewiring your brain. You're building new neural pathways that default to persistence instead of quitting. You're training your mind to see challenges as temporary obstacles instead of permanent roadblocks. This is why small wins matter so much. When you push through on the days you don't feel like it, when you complete tasks you'd rather avoid, when you stick to commitments even when motivation fades, you're proving to your mind that you're someone who finishes what they start. You're collecting evidence that supports a new identity, an identity of someone who doesn't give up. But this requires conscious effort. Your old patterns won't disappear overnight. They'll fight back. They'll try to convince you that this time is different, that this goal isn't worth it, that you should wait for better circumstances. That's your untrained mind talking. Don't listen to it. Recognize it as the voice of your old quitting habit trying to reassert itself. Instead, start viewing persistence as a skill you're developing. Like any skill, it requires practice. It requires consistency. It requires patience with the process. You wouldn't expect to master a musical instrument in a week. Don't expect to master persistence in a week either. But know that every time you choose to continue when your mind wants you to stop, you're getting stronger. The goal isn't to never feel like quitting. The goal is to train your mind to act in spite of that feeling. Champions still feel doubt. They still face moments of wanting to give up. The difference is they've trained their minds to push through those moments instead of surrendering to them. Your mind will always look for the path of least resistance. That's how it's designed. But you can train it to find that resistance acceptable, even necessary for growth. You can teach it that discomfort is temporary, but the pride of persistence lasts forever. You can condition it to see quitting as more painful than continuing. This is mental training at its core. Not pretending everything is easy, but preparing your mind to handle difficulty. Not avoiding challenges, but building the mental muscle to overcome them. Not hoping for motivation to carry you, but developing the discipline to move forward regardless of how you feel. Every day you have opportunities to practice persistence. Small opportunities. Finishing the workout when you want to stop early. Completing the task when you'd rather procrastinate. Having the difficult conversation when you'd rather avoid it. These aren't just isolated actions. They're training sessions for your mind. They're building the mental strength you'll need when bigger challenges arrive. Remember, quitting isn't just about the goal you're abandoning. It's about the person you're becoming. Every time you quit, you're telling yourself that you're the type of person who gives up when things get hard. But every time you persist, you're proving that you're the type of person who finds a way to win. Stop treating quitting like it's neutral. It's not. It's actively working against your future. It's weakening your confidence. It's reinforcing patterns that will sabotage your success. Recognize it for what it is, a habit that needs to be broken, and start building the habit of persistence in its place. Chapter 2. Build mental strength through small daily wins. Mental strength isn't built in a moment of crisis. It's built through countless small decisions made when the stakes feel low. Every morning you get up when you said you would instead of hitting snooze. Every time you complete a task when you'd rather put it off. Every moment you choose discipline over comfort. You're adding another brick to your foundation of mental toughness. Most people make the mistake of thinking they need to wait for big challenges to prove their strength. They believe they'll rise to the occasion when it really matters. But that's not how the mind works. Your mind performs under pressure exactly the way you've trained it to perform in daily life. If you're inconsistent with small things, you'll be inconsistent with big things. If you make excuses for minor discomfort, you'll make excuses when major obstacles appear. The beauty of building mental strength through small daily wins is that it's completely within your control. You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need external motivation. You don't need anyone else's permission or support. You just need to start honoring the small commitments you make to yourself every single day. Start with your morning routine. This is where your mental training begins. Before the world has a chance to influence your thoughts, before challenges appear, before distractions pull at your attention, you have a window of pure control. Use it wisely. Set a wake-up time and honor it. Not when you feel like it, not when you got enough sleep. Every single day. This simple act trains your mind that you're someone who keeps their word, even to themselves. Then stack small disciplines throughout your day. Make your bed. It takes 2 minutes, but it starts your day with a completion. Clean up after yourself immediately instead of leaving it for later. It builds the habit of finishing what you start. Keep your word in small conversations. If you say you'll call someone back, do it. If you promise to send an email, send it. These micro-commitments train your mind to trust your word. Physical discomfort is one of the best teachers for mental strength. When you're exercising and your body wants to stop, but you complete the set anyway, you're teaching your mind that feelings don't control actions. When you take a cold shower, even though every cell in your body resists it, you're proving that you can do difficult things. When you choose the healthy meal over the convenient one, you're training your mind to prioritize long-term benefits over immediate gratification. The key is consistency over intensity. It's better to do 10 push-ups every day for a year than to do 100 push-ups once and then quit. Your mind responds to patterns, not sporadic efforts. When you show up consistently, even in small ways, your mind starts to believe that showing up is just what you do. It becomes part of your identity rather than something you have to force. Track your wins, but not in a complicated way. Simply acknowledge when you follow through on commitments to yourself. Say it out loud. I said I would do this, and I did it. This reinforces the neural pathways associated with persistence. Your mind loves evidence, and every small win is proof that you're someone who finishes what they start. Don't underestimate the power of completing simple tasks when you don't feel like it. Reading one page when you're tired. Writing one paragraph when you're unmotivated. Organizing one drawer when you're overwhelmed. These actions might seem insignificant, but they're training your mind to operate independently of your emotions. They're building the muscle of discipline that you'll need when bigger challenges arrive. Mental strength is also built through what you don't do. Every time you resist the urge to check your phone when you should be working, you're building focus. Every time you don't react emotionally to criticism, you're building emotional resilience. Every time you don't make an excuse for poor performance, you're building accountability. Mental strength isn't just about doing hard things. It's about not doing easy things that work against your goals. Create artificial challenges for yourself. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Park farther away and walk. Carry groceries instead of using a cart. These might seem pointless, but they're training your mind to choose the more difficult path when easier options are available. This mental muscle will serve you when life presents real challenges where taking the easy path means giving up on your dreams. The compound effect of small daily wins is remarkable. Each one individually might feel insignificant, but together they create momentum. They build confidence. They establish patterns. They create an identity. After months of keeping small commitments to yourself, you start to believe at a deep level that you're someone who can be trusted to follow through. This belief becomes the foundation for attempting bigger challenges. Pay attention to your self-talk after these small wins. Don't just move on to the next thing. Pause and acknowledge what you just proved about yourself. I didn't feel like doing that, but I did it anyway. That's who I am. That's what I do. This internal dialogue reinforces the identity you're building. It tells your subconscious mind that persistence is part of your character. Remember that your mind is always watching your actions and drawing conclusions about who you are. Every kept promise strengthens its belief in your reliability. Every completed task reinforces its confidence in your capability. Every moment of discipline builds its trust in your commitment. You're not just accomplishing tasks. You're training your mind to see you as someone who doesn't give up. Start today. Choose one small thing you've been putting off and complete it. Choose one small commitment and honor it. Choose one moment of discomfort and push through it. Not because it will change your life immediately, but because it will start training your mind to operate from strength instead of weakness. And that training, accumulated over time, will make you mentally unstoppable. The strongest people you know weren't born with superior willpower. They built it through thousands of small decisions to do what they said they would do, to finish what they started, to persist when quitting was easier. They trained their minds through daily practice, and now their minds serve their goals instead of sabotaging them. You can build the same strength. You just have to start small and stay consistent. Chapter 3. Train your mind to see obstacles as training. Your mind's interpretation of obstacles determines whether you grow stronger or give up entirely. Most people see obstacles as evidence that they should quit. They view challenges as signs that they're on the wrong path, that success isn't meant for them, that they should try something easier. But this is exactly backwards. Obstacles aren't roadblocks. They're training equipment for your mind. Every obstacle you face is your mind's gym. Just like lifting weights tears down muscle fibers so they can rebuild stronger, facing obstacles breaks down your mental limitations so they can be reconstructed at a higher level. The person who learns to see obstacles as opportunities for growth develops an unstoppable mindset. They start looking forward to challenges because they know each one is making them more capable. This perspective shift doesn't happen automatically. Your brain is wired to interpret obstacles as threats. It's designed to keep you safe, not to help you grow. So when you encounter difficulty, your brain's first instinct is to look for the exit. It floods your system with stress hormones. It focuses on everything that could go wrong. It magnifies the pain of continuing while minimizing the cost of quitting. But you can train your brain to respond differently. You can teach it to see obstacles as puzzles to solve rather than threats to avoid. You can condition it to get curious about challenges instead of fearful. You can program it to ask, "How can I overcome this?" instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" Start by changing your language around difficulties. Instead of saying, "This is too hard," say, "This is going to make me stronger." Instead of, "I can't handle this," say, "I'm learning to handle this." Instead of, "This always happens to me." Say, "This is preparing me for something bigger." Your mind believes what you tell it consistently. So start telling it stories that serve your growth instead of your fears. When you encounter an obstacle, resist the urge to immediately look for a way around it. Instead, study it. What skill is this obstacle requiring you to develop? What weakness is it exposing that you need to strengthen? What lesson is it trying to teach you? Obstacles aren't random. They're specifically designed to develop the exact capabilities you need for the next level of your journey. Think about video games. Players don't get frustrated when they encounter a difficult level. They understand that the difficulty is proportional to the reward. They know that each challenging level is preparing them for even greater challenges ahead. They expect to fail multiple times before succeeding, and they see each failure as valuable information about what doesn't work. Your life operates on the same principle, but most people never make this connection. Every successful person has a story about an obstacle that almost broke them but ultimately made them. They'll tell you about the failure that taught them resilience, the rejection that forced them to improve, the setback that redirected them toward their true calling. They learned to extract value from every difficulty, to mine gold from every challenge, to find strength in every struggle. Your obstacles are perfectly calibrated to your growth. They're not bigger than you can handle, though they may feel that way. They're designed to stretch you just beyond your current capability, forcing you to develop new muscles, new skills, new perspectives. If obstacles were easy to overcome, they wouldn't serve their purpose. The difficulty is the feature, not the bug. This mindset transforms how you approach challenges. Instead of asking, "Why me?" you start asking, "What's this teaching me?" Instead of feeling victimized by circumstances, you feel curious about what you're meant to learn. Instead of looking for someone to blame, you start looking for ways to grow. This shift from victim to student is the foundation of mental toughness. Physical training provides a perfect model for this principle. When you're lifting weights, the resistance isn't your enemy. It's the very thing that makes you stronger. The muscle breakdown from lifting heavy weights is what signals your body to build more muscle. Similarly, the mental breakdown from facing obstacles is what signals your mind to build more resilience, more creativity, more determination. Start keeping an obstacle journal. When you face a challenge, write down what it's requiring you to become. What quality does this obstacle demand that you don't currently possess? What skill does it require that you need to develop? What perspective does it demand that you haven't adopted? This practice trains your mind to immediately look for the growth opportunity in every difficulty. Celebrate obstacle victories differently than easy victories. When you overcome something that was genuinely difficult, that stretched you, that required you to become better than you were before, acknowledge the internal growth that occurred. You didn't just solve a problem. You upgraded your capacity to handle problems. You didn't just achieve a result. You became someone capable of achieving bigger results. Remember that your mind is constantly looking for evidence to support its beliefs about what you can handle. Every time you work through an obstacle instead of avoiding it, you're providing evidence that you're capable of more than you thought. Every time you persist through difficulty, you're proving that obstacles don't stop you, they strengthen you. This evidence accumulates and eventually reshapes your identity from someone who avoids challenges to someone who embraces them. The highest achievers in any field have learned to love obstacles because they know obstacles are what separate them from their competition. While others quit, they persist. While others complain, they adapt. While others make excuses, they make progress. They understand that obstacles aren't preventing them from reaching their goals. Obstacles are the path to their goals. Start today by identifying the biggest obstacle you're currently facing. Instead of focusing on how difficult it is, focus on who you'll become by overcoming it. What strength will you build? What skill will you develop? What confidence will you gain? This isn't positive thinking. This is strategic thinking. You're training your mind to extract maximum value from every challenge life presents. Your obstacles aren't roadblocks. They're your curriculum. They're specifically designed to teach you what you need to know for the next level of your journey. Stop resisting them. Start embracing them. Stop seeing them as problems. Start seeing them as training. Because when your mind learns to see obstacles as opportunities for growth, you become truly unstoppable. Chapter 4. Control your inner voice during hard times. The voice inside your head is either your greatest ally or your worst enemy during difficult times. For most people, it's the latter. When challenges arise, when progress slows, when obstacles multiply, their inner voice becomes a critic, a pessimist, a quitter. It floods their mind with doubt, fear, and negativity. It magnifies problems while minimizing possibilities. It convinces them that giving up is the rational choice. But champions have learned to control this voice. They've trained their inner dialogue to serve their goals instead of sabotaging them. They've developed the ability to think clearly under pressure, to maintain perspective during setbacks, to stay focused on solutions when problems seem overwhelming. This isn't a natural talent. It's a trained skill that anyone can develop. Your inner voice reflects your mental habits. If you've developed the habit of negative self-talk, your inner voice will automatically default to criticism and doubt during hard times. If you've built the habit of catastrophic thinking, your inner voice will immediately jump to worst-case scenarios when challenges appear. These patterns feel automatic because they've been reinforced through repetition, but they can be changed through conscious effort and consistent practice. The first step in controlling your inner voice is awareness. Most people are unconscious of their self-talk. They don't notice the constant stream of commentary running through their minds. They don't realize how much their inner dialogue influences their emotions, their decisions, their actions. Start paying attention to what you're saying to yourself, especially during difficult moments. Notice the tone, the content, the patterns. When you become aware of negative self-talk, don't try to suppress it. Suppression doesn't work and often makes the thoughts stronger. Instead, acknowledge the thought and then consciously choose a more useful response. If your inner voice says, "I can't handle this," acknowledge it and then respond with, "I'm learning to handle this." If it says, "This is too hard," acknowledge it and then respond with, "This is making me stronger." Develop standard responses to common negative thoughts. When your inner voice says you should quit, have a prepared response. Quitting isn't an option. I'm going to find a way through this. When it says you're not good enough, respond with, "I'm becoming better every day. I'm exactly where I need to be in my journey." When it says this is impossible, respond with, "Nothing is impossible. I just haven't found the solution yet." Your inner voice during hard times should sound like a coach, not a critic. A coach acknowledges difficulties, but focuses on solutions. A coach recognizes setbacks, but emphasizes comeback strategies. A coach sees current limitations but believes in future possibilities. Train your inner voice to ask better questions. What can I learn from this? How can I improve? What's my next step? Who do I need to become to overcome this? The quality of your self-talk determines the quality of your mental state. If you talk to yourself with encouragement, understanding, and determination, you'll feel encouraged, understood, and determined. If you talk to yourself with criticism, judgment, and defeat, you'll feel criticized, judged, and defeated. Your emotions follow your thoughts. So controlling your thoughts is essential for controlling your emotional state during challenging times. Practice positive self-coaching daily, not just during hard times. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you care about who is facing a difficult challenge. Be firm but kind. Be honest but encouraging. Be realistic but optimistic. The more you practice supportive self-talk during normal times, the more automatic it becomes during challenging times. Remember that your inner voice is not the truth. It's just one perspective, often influenced by fear, past experiences, and limiting beliefs. You have the power to choose which thoughts to focus on and which to dismiss. You have the ability to question your thoughts, challenge your assumptions, and redirect your mental energy toward more productive thinking patterns. During hard times, your inner voice will try to convince you that your situation is permanent, pervasive, and personal. It will tell you that things will never get better, that failure affects every area of your life, and that you're personally flawed. These are cognitive distortions, not facts. Counter them with truth. Challenges are temporary, setbacks are specific to situations, and struggles are part of growth, not evidence of inadequacy. Create mental anchors that you can return to when your inner voice becomes destructive. These might be personal mantras, inspiring quotes, past victories, or future visions. When negative self-talk begins to spiral, immediately redirect your attention to one of these anchors. This gives your mind something positive to focus on and breaks the cycle of negative thinking. Your inner voice becomes stronger through use. If you consistently engage with negative thoughts, they become louder and more frequent. If you consistently redirect toward positive thoughts, they become your default pattern. This is why it's crucial to be intentional about your self-talk, especially during difficult periods when your mind is most vulnerable to negativity. Understand that controlling your inner voice doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means speaking to yourself in a way that acknowledges reality while maintaining hope, recognizes challenges while believing in your ability to overcome them, accepts setbacks while staying committed to your goals. It's about being honest but helpful, realistic but resilient. Your inner voice during hard times should remind you of your why, your progress, your capabilities, and your determination. It should connect you to your deeper purpose. Celebrate your growth, recognize your strengths, and reinforce your commitment. When your inner voice becomes your ally instead of your enemy, you become virtually unstoppable because your mind is working with you instead of against you. The conversations you have with yourself matter more than the conversations you have with others because you're always listening to yourself. Make sure those conversations are serving your growth, supporting your goals, and strengthening your resolve. Train your inner voice to be the voice of someone who never gives up, and you'll find that giving up becomes impossible. Chapter 5. Use pain as fuel instead of an excuse. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Every person who has achieved something meaningful has learned this distinction. Pain, discomfort, struggle, these are the raw materials of growth. They're not obstacles to overcome, but fuel to be harnessed. The person who learns to use pain as motivation instead of an excuse develops an unstoppable advantage because they're powered by the very thing that stops everyone else. Most people run from pain. When they feel discomfort, they immediately look for relief. When they face struggle, they search for an easier path. When they encounter rejection, they take it as a sign to quit. This is exactly backwards. Pain isn't telling you to stop. Pain is telling you that you're at the edge of your comfort zone, the exact place where growth happens. Physical pain teaches this lesson clearly. When you're working out and your muscles start to burn, that's not a signal to stop. That's a signal that you're creating the conditions for strength. The burn is the feeling of your muscles adapting, growing, becoming more capable. Similarly, emotional and mental pain is often the feeling of your character adapting, growing, becoming more resilient. But using pain as fuel requires a fundamental shift in how you interpret discomfort. Instead of seeing pain as evidence that something is wrong, you must learn to see it as evidence that something is right. You're pushing boundaries. You're expanding limits. You're becoming more than you were before. This reinterpretation transforms pain from an enemy into an ally. Every successful person has a collection of painful experiences that they credit with making them who they are. The rejection that motivated them to improve. The failure that taught them persistence. The loss that showed them what really matters. They learned to extract power from pain, to find strength in struggle, to discover opportunity in adversity. This isn't natural. It's trained. Start by changing your relationship with discomfort. When you feel physical discomfort during exercise, instead of thinking, "This hurts," think, "This is building me." When you feel emotional discomfort during a challenging conversation, instead of thinking, "This is awkward," think, "This is growing me." When you feel mental discomfort while learning something difficult, instead of thinking, "This is frustrating," think, "This is expanding me." Pain often contains important information that comfort never provides. It shows you what you need to work on, what you need to strengthen, what you need to change. Physical pain reveals weaknesses in your body. Emotional pain reveals areas where you need to develop resilience. Mental pain reveals concepts you need to master. Instead of avoiding this information, learn to welcome it as guidance for your development. The fuel metaphor is important because fuel gets consumed in the process of creating energy. When you use pain as fuel, you're not storing it or dwelling on it. You're converting it into forward motion. You're transforming it into determination, motivation, strength. The pain itself doesn't last, but the energy it creates propels you toward your goals. Develop rituals for converting pain into fuel. When you experience a setback, disappointment, or failure, have a process for extracting value from it. Ask yourself, what did this teach me? How did this make me stronger? What skill did this force me to develop? What do I know now that I didn't know before? This process transforms painful experiences into powerful lessons. Remember that your capacity to handle pain determines your capacity to achieve goals. Big goals require big sacrifices. Meaningful achievements demand meaningful struggles. Extraordinary results necessitate extraordinary persistence. If you can only handle small amounts of pain, you can only achieve small results. If you can handle significant pain, you can achieve significant results. Physical training provides a perfect model for this principle. Athletes don't just tolerate pain, they seek it out. They know that the pain of training is the price of performance. They've learned to love the burn because they know it means they're getting stronger. They've trained their minds to interpret pain as progress, discomfort as development, struggle as success. Your pain tolerance isn't fixed. It can be developed through practice. Every time you push through discomfort, instead of avoiding it, you increase your capacity to handle difficulty. Every time you persist through struggle instead of quitting, you expand your ability to endure challenges. Every time you use pain as motivation instead of an excuse, you strengthen your mental resilience. The key is not to eliminate pain, but to reframe it. Pain becomes suffering when you resist it, avoid it, or see yourself as a victim of it. Pain becomes fuel when you accept it, learn from it, and use it to drive you forward. The same experience can either weaken you or strengthen you, depending on how you choose to interpret and respond to it. Start practicing with small pains. When you feel the discomfort of hunger while waiting for a healthy meal, use it as fuel for your commitment to better nutrition. When you feel the discomfort of fatigue during exercise, use it as fuel for your dedication to fitness. When you feel the discomfort of boredom during focused work, use it as fuel for your pursuit of excellence. Your relationship with pain is your relationship with growth. If you run from pain, you run from growth. If you avoid discomfort, you avoid development. If you quit when things get hard, you quit on becoming the person your goals require you to be. But if you learn to harness pain, to convert struggle into strength, to transform obstacles into opportunities, you become truly unstoppable. Pain is not your enemy unless you make it your enemy. Pain is not telling you to quit unless you let it tell you to quit. Pain is simply information, energy, raw material for building a stronger, more capable, more resilient version of yourself. Learn to use it wisely, and you'll discover that the very thing that stops most people becomes the thing that propels you forward. Chapter 6. Stay focused when everything falls apart. When your world starts crumbling, when plans collapse, when everything you thought was solid starts to shake, your mind faces its ultimate test. This is when most people lose their focus entirely. They panic. They scatter their energy in a dozen directions. They become reactive instead of strategic. They let chaos on the outside create chaos on the inside. But this is precisely when focus becomes most valuable and most difficult to maintain. Focus during crisis isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about maintaining clarity about what matters most when everything else is falling apart. It's about keeping your mental energy concentrated on what you can control instead of dissipating it on what you can't. It's about staying connected to your core mission even when the path becomes unclear. Your mind, when faced with multiple threats or failures, wants to address everything at once. It jumps from problem to problem, never fully engaging with any single issue. This scattered approach feels productive because you're thinking about many things, but it's actually counterproductive because you're not effectively addressing anything. Focus means choosing where to direct your limited mental resources for maximum impact. The first step in maintaining focus during chaos is to get still. Not physically still, but mentally still. When everything around you is moving fast, spinning out of control, your natural instinct is to speed up, to match the pace of the crisis. But this is a mistake. The more chaotic the external situation becomes, the more calm and deliberate your internal response must be. Create a hierarchy of importance. When multiple areas of your life are struggling simultaneously, You cannot fix everything at once. You must choose what to focus on first, second, third. This isn't about ignoring problems. It's about addressing them strategically instead of randomly. The person who tries to solve 10 problems at once usually solves none. The person who focuses on one problem at a time eventually solves them all. Your ability to focus during crisis depends largely on your preparation before crisis. If you've trained your mind to stay focused during normal times, it will be easier to maintain focus during abnormal times. If you've built the habit of single tasking, of deep work, of sustained concentration, these skills will serve you when you need them most. Focus is like a muscle that must be strengthened before it's tested. When everything falls apart, your mind will want to focus on everything that's going wrong. This is natural but destructive. It creates a downward spiral of negative thinking that clouds your judgment and paralyzes your action. Instead, train your mind to focus on what's still working, what you can still control, what's still possible. This isn't denial, it's strategic thinking. One of the most powerful focus techniques during crisis is the next step principle. Instead of trying to see the entire path through the chaos, focus only on the next logical step. What's the one thing you can do right now that will move you slightly forward? What's the single action that will improve your situation even marginally? Take that step, then identify the next one. Your mind during crisis will flood you with worst-case scenarios. It will show you everything that could go wrong, everyone you might disappoint, every way you might fail. This is your brain's attempt to prepare for threats, but it often creates more fear than preparation. Counter this tendency by deliberately focusing on best-case scenarios, on what could go right, on the opportunities that crisis often creates. Understand that crisis is temporary, but the habits you build during crisis are permanent. If you train yourself to lose focus when things get difficult, you'll struggle with focus throughout your life. If you train yourself to maintain focus when everything falls apart, you'll develop unshakable concentration that serves you in all situations. Crisis is not just something to survive, it's something to learn from. Focus during chaos requires extreme selectivity about what information you consume. When everything is falling apart, you'll be tempted to constantly check news, social media, updates, opinions. This information overload will fragment your attention and increase your anxiety. Be ruthless about cutting off information sources that don't directly help you solve your immediate problems. Physical practices can support mental focus during crisis. Regular exercise, even if it's just a short walk, helps clear your mind and reduce stress hormones that cloud thinking. Proper sleep, even if you have to schedule it aggressively, maintains the cognitive function necessary for clear decision-making. Good nutrition supports stable blood sugar and brain function. These aren't luxuries during crisis. They're necessities for maintaining focus. Remember that your focus during crisis sends a message to everyone around you. When others see you staying calm and focused while everything falls apart, it instills confidence. It creates stability. It provides leadership. Your ability to maintain focus doesn't just help you navigate the crisis. It helps everyone connected to you navigate it as well. Crisis often reveals what truly matters. When everything is stripped away, when all the non-essentials are removed, what remains is what's actually important. Use this clarity to refine your focus permanently. Many people emerge from crisis with a clearer sense of purpose, better priorities, stronger focus, because the crisis forced them to eliminate distractions and concentrate on essentials. Your mind will tell you that you can't afford to focus on just one thing when so many things need attention. This is a lie. You can't afford not to focus. Unfocused effort during crisis is wasted effort. Scattered energy during emergency is ineffective energy. The more challenging your situation becomes, the more concentrated your response must be. Practice focusing during small emergencies so you're prepared for large ones. When your day gets disrupted, when unexpected problems arise, when minor crises appear, use these as training opportunities. Practice staying calm, getting clear on priorities, focusing on solutions instead of problems. These smaller challenges are preparation for bigger ones. The ability to stay focused when everything falls apart is what separates those who emerge stronger from those who emerge broken. It's what distinguishes those who find opportunity in crisis from those who only see threat. It's what defines those who use difficult times to build character versus those who use difficult times as excuses for poor character. Your focus during your worst times reveals your true strength. Anyone can stay focused when everything is going well. But the person who maintains clarity during chaos, who keeps their eyes on their goals when obstacles multiply, who stays committed to their mission when everything seems to be working against them, that person develops unbreakable mental toughness. Start training this skill now, before you need it. Practice single tasking, practice deep work, practice maintaining concentration despite distractions, practice staying calm under pressure. Because when everything falls apart, and it will at some point, your ability to stay focused will determine whether you fall apart with it or rise above it stronger than before. Focus during crisis isn't just about surviving the storm. It's about learning to navigate in any weather, developing the mental discipline to stay on course regardless of conditions, building the concentration that makes you unstoppable no matter what life throws at you. Chapter 7. Build systems that work when motivation fails. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Some days you wake up feeling unstoppable, ready to conquer the world. Other days you can barely get out of bed. If your success depends on feeling motivated, you'll live a life of inconsistent progress and frequent setbacks. But if you build systems that work regardless of how you feel, you become unstoppable because your progress no longer depends on your emotions. Most people treat motivation like fuel for their goals. They wait for it, chase it, depend on it. When motivation is high, they work hard. When motivation is low, they barely work at all. This creates a roller coaster of progress that ultimately leads nowhere. Champions understand that motivation is not fuel. It's a bonus. Their real fuel comes from systems, habits, and structures that function automatically, independent of how they feel. A system is a series of actions that produce a predictable result. Unlike goals, which depend on outcomes you can't completely control, systems depend on processes you can completely control. You can't control whether you lose 20 pounds this month, but you can control whether you exercise for 30 minutes every day. You can't control whether your business succeeds this year, but you can control whether you do the daily activities that build successful businesses. The power of systems lies in their automation. Once a system is established, it runs itself. You don't have to decide whether to do it. You don't have to feel like doing it. You just do it because it's part of your system. This removes the enormous mental energy required to make decisions and overcome resistance every single day. Systems convert willpower from a limited resource into an unlimited one. Start by identifying the daily actions that, if performed consistently, would inevitably lead to your goals. These actions should be specific, measurable, and completely within your control. If your goal is better health, your daily actions might include 30 minutes of exercise, 8 glasses of water, and 7 hours of sleep. If your goal is business growth, your daily actions might include 1 sales call, 1 piece of content creation, and 1 hour of skill development. Your systems must be designed for your worst days, not your best days. On your best days, you'll exceed your systems naturally. But on your worst days, when motivation is absent, when energy is low, when obstacles seem overwhelming, your systems must still be achievable. This means setting the bar low enough that you can clear it even when you don't feel like trying. The minimum effective dose principle applies to system building. What's the smallest action you can take that still moves you forward? Instead of planning to exercise for 2 hours when you're motivated, plan to exercise for 10 minutes, regardless of motivation. Instead of committing to write 1,000 words when inspiration strikes, commit to write 100 words, whether inspiration shows up or not. Systems require triggers, specific cues that automatically initiate the desired behavior. These triggers should be tied to existing habits or unavoidable events. If you want to build a reading habit, trigger it by placing a book next to your coffee maker and reading 1 page while your coffee brews. If you want to build an exercise habit, trigger it by laying out your workout clothes before bed and putting them on immediately after waking. Track your systems, not just your results. Create simple ways to measure whether you're following your systems consistently. This might be as basic as checking boxes on a calendar or keeping a simple tally. The act of tracking reinforces the behavior and provides immediate feedback about your consistency. You can't manage what you don't measure. Your systems should be flexible enough to adapt to changing circumstances, but rigid enough to maintain consistency. If your normal exercise routine is disrupted by travel, your system should have alternatives. If your usual work schedule is interrupted by unexpected events, your system should have backup plans. Flexibility prevents systems from breaking when life gets chaotic. Build systems for all areas of your life that matter to you. Physical health systems, mental health systems, relationship systems, financial systems, career systems, learning systems. Each area of your life that you want to improve should have a simple, daily system that moves you forward regardless of motivation, mood, or circumstances. Start with 1 system and perfect it before adding others. System building is a skill that improves with practice. Your first system might feel clunky, require adjustments, need refinement. That's normal. Master the process of building and maintaining 1 system before attempting to implement multiple systems simultaneously. Success in system building is cumulative. Your environment should support your systems. If you want to eat healthier, your kitchen should make healthy choices easy and unhealthy choices difficult. If you want to read more, books should be visible and accessible, while distracting devices should be hidden. If you want to exercise regularly, your workout clothes should be ready and your path to exercise should be cleared. Systems compound over time. Small daily actions create massive results when sustained consistently. The person who writes 1 page per day writes a book in a year. The person who exercises for 20 minutes daily transforms their health in months. The person who learns for 30 minutes daily masters new skills in seasons. Systems harness the power of compound interest for personal growth. Remember that systems are more important than goals. Goals tell you where you want to go. Systems get you there. Goals depend on outcomes you can't control. Systems depend on processes you can control. Goals create pressure and stress. Systems create progress and peace. Focus on building systems that align with your values and naturally produce the results you desire. Your system should evolve as you grow. What works as a beginner won't necessarily work as an intermediate or advanced practitioner. Regularly review and refine your systems. Make them more challenging as they become easier. Add complexity as you master simplicity, but never sacrifice consistency for sophistication. The ultimate test of a system is whether it works when you don't want to do it. Can you follow your exercise system when you're tired? Can you maintain your learning system when you're busy? Can you stick to your nutrition system when you're stressed? If your systems only work when you feel good, they're not systems, they're preferences. Building systems that work when motivation fails is perhaps the most valuable skill you can develop. It's what allows ordinary people to achieve extraordinary results. It's what makes consistency possible. It's what transforms good intentions into actual results. It's what makes the difference between people who succeed once and people who succeed repeatedly. Start today. Choose one area of your life that you want to improve. Identify the smallest daily action that would move you toward improvement in that area. Design a simple system around that action. Include a trigger, a tracking method, and environmental support. Then commit to following that system for 30 days, regardless of how you feel. This is how you build a mind that never gives up, because your progress no longer depends on your feelings. Chapter 8. Practice persistence through small daily disciplines. Persistence isn't built during moments of crisis or major challenges. It's built through small daily disciplines that seem insignificant but accumulate into extraordinary mental strength. Every time you do something you said you would do, especially when you don't feel like doing it, you're making a deposit into your persistence account. Every time you complete a task you'd rather avoid, you're building the mental muscle that will carry you through life's biggest challenges. Most people misunderstand persistence. They think it's about pushing through enormous obstacles or enduring dramatic hardships. But real persistence is quieter, more mundane, more ordinary. It's about showing up consistently for the small commitments you make to yourself every single day. It's about keeping your word in tiny ways that no one else notices but that shape your character profoundly. The brain learns through repetition. Every time you persist through a small challenge, you're teaching your brain that persistence is your default response to difficulty. Every time you complete a minor task despite resistance, you're programming your mind to finish what it starts. Every time you honor a small commitment when it's inconvenient, you're building the neural pathways that make persistence automatic. Start with micro-disciplines. These are tiny habits that require minimal time and energy but build maximum character. Make your bed every morning. Put dishes in the dishwasher immediately after eating. Respond to emails within 24 hours. Read one page before bed. These actions take minutes but build the identity of someone who follows through on commitments. Physical disciplines are particularly effective for building mental persistence because they create immediate discomfort that you must push through. Take cold showers, walk for 10 minutes daily regardless of weather. Do 10 push-ups every morning. Stretch for 5 minutes every evening. These small physical challenges train your mind to persist through discomfort in all areas of life. Time-based disciplines build persistence differently than task-based disciplines. Committing to work on a project for 15 minutes daily, regardless of progress, builds the ability to persist through periods when results aren't visible. Committing to study for 20 minutes daily, regardless of comprehension, builds the ability to persist through learning plateaus. Time-based persistence is about showing up, not about achieving. Financial disciplines create unique persistence training because they require delaying immediate gratification for long-term benefit. Saving a small amount daily, avoiding unnecessary purchases, choosing generic over brand name, bringing lunch instead of buying it. These micro-financial disciplines build the persistence required for all forms of delayed gratification. Social disciplines involve persisting in relationships and communication even when it's awkward or difficult. Calling one friend per week, writing one thank you note per month, having one difficult conversation you've been avoiding, apologizing when you're wrong. These disciplines build the persistence required for deep, meaningful relationships. Learning disciplines create persistence through intellectual challenge, reading one chapter daily, practicing one new skill for 10 minutes, memorizing one new fact, solving one difficult problem. These disciplines train your mind to persist through confusion, frustration, and the discomfort of not knowing. The key to building persistence through daily disciplines is consistency over intensity. It's better to do something small every day than something large once a week. Your brain responds to patterns, not to occasional efforts. A 5-minute daily walk builds more persistence than a 2-hour weekly hike. 10 daily push-ups build more mental strength than a monthly gym session. Track your daily disciplines simply but consistently. This might be check marks on a calendar, notes in a journal, or marks on a chart. The act of tracking serves multiple purposes. It provides immediate feedback, it creates accountability, it shows progress over time, and it reinforces the behavior. You're more likely to persist with what you measure. Connect your daily disciplines to your larger purpose. Understand why each small habit matters in the context of your bigger goals. Your morning routine isn't just about starting the day well. It's about building the persistence you'll need to achieve your life vision. Your exercise habit isn't just about physical health. It's about proving to yourself that you can persist through discomfort. Expect resistance to your daily disciplines. Your brain will find reasons to skip them, postpone them, modify them, or abandon them entirely. This resistance isn't a sign that the disciplines aren't working. It's proof that they are working. They're challenging your current patterns and creating new ones. Persistence means continuing despite resistance, not waiting for resistance to disappear. Start with one daily discipline and master it before adding others. Most people try to implement multiple new habits simultaneously and end up persisting with none of them. Choose one small discipline that aligns with your goals and commit to it for 30 days without exception. Only after it becomes automatic should you add another discipline. Your daily disciplines should be challenging enough to require effort, but easy enough to achieve consistently. If a discipline is too easy, it won't build persistence. If it's too difficult, you won't sustain it. Find the sweet spot where the discipline stretches you slightly beyond your comfort zone, but doesn't overwhelm your current capacity. Review and adjust your disciplines regularly. What challenges you today might become easy in 3 months. What seems impossible today might become achievable in 6 months. As your persistence grows, your discipline should evolve to match your increased capacity. The goal is continuous challenge, not endless repetition of easy tasks. Remember that daily disciplines compound exponentially. Each day of persistence makes the next day easier. Each week of consistency makes the next week more automatic. Each month of discipline makes the next month feel natural. Small daily persistence creates massive long-term results that seem miraculous to others but feel inevitable to you. The most successful people you know aren't successful because they occasionally do extraordinary things. They're successful because they consistently do ordinary things. They've built persistence through thousands of small daily disciplines that trained their minds to finish what they start, to push through when things get difficult, to show up regardless of how they feel. Your persistence is being built or eroded by your daily choices. Every small commitment you keep builds it. Every minor discipline you maintain strengthens it. Every tiny promise you honor reinforces it. Conversely, every small commitment you break weakens it. Every minor discipline you abandon undermines it. Every tiny promise you ignore diminishes it. Start today with one small daily discipline. Choose something that will challenge you slightly, but that you can definitely achieve. Commit to it for 30 days without exception. Notice how this simple practice begins to change not just your behavior but your identity. You start to see yourself as someone who persists, someone who follows through, someone who doesn't give up. And once you see yourself that way, giving up becomes inconsistent with who you are. Chapter 9. Reframe setbacks as setups for comebacks. Your relationship with setbacks determines whether they devastate you or develop you. Most people see setbacks as evidence that they should quit, that success isn't meant for them, that they're on the wrong path. They interpret every failure as a verdict on their capability, every rejection as a judgment on their worth, every obstacle as a sign to give up. This mindset turns temporary setbacks into permanent defeats. But champions have learned to see setbacks differently. They understand that setbacks aren't the opposite of success. They're part of success. They're not detours from the path. They're features of the path. They're not evidence that you're failing. They're evidence that you're trying. Every successful person has a collection of setbacks that they credit with making their eventual success possible. The word setback itself reveals the temporary nature of these experiences. You're not set down or set out. You're set back, which implies that forward movement will resume. The setback is a temporary pause, a brief retreat, a momentary redirection. It's not a permanent position unless you decide to make it one. Reframing setbacks requires understanding their true function. Setbacks reveal weaknesses that need to be strengthened. They expose gaps that need to be filled. They highlight skills that need to be developed. They show you what you need to learn, what you need to improve, what you need to change. Without setbacks, you would continue forward with blind spots that would eventually cause much larger failures. Every setback contains valuable information that success never provides. Success teaches you what works, but setbacks teach you what doesn't work. Success confirms your strengths, but setbacks reveal your weaknesses. Success feels good, but setbacks make you better. The person who learns to extract maximum value from setbacks develops a massive advantage over those who only learn from success. The setup-comeback framework transforms how you interpret difficult experiences. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What is this setting me up for?" Instead of thinking, "This ruins everything," you think, "This is preparing me for something better." Instead of feeling like a victim of circumstances, you feel like a student of life. Historical perspective is crucial for reframing setbacks. Almost every breakthrough story includes a significant setback that seemed devastating at the time, but proved essential in retrospect. The rejection that forced someone to improve their skills. The failure that redirected them toward their true calling. The loss that taught them what really mattered. These setbacks weren't obstacles to success. They were prerequisites for success. Your current setback is setting you up for your next level, but only if you choose to learn from it instead of being defeated by it. What skill is this setback forcing you to develop? What knowledge is it requiring you to gain? What strength is it demanding you build? What perspective is it pushing you to adopt? These aren't rhetorical questions. They're practical inquiries that reveal the hidden value in your difficulty. The comeback is always proportional to the setback. Small setbacks set you up for small comebacks. Large setbacks set you up for large comebacks. The depth of your current difficulty often predicts the height of your eventual triumph. This isn't mystical thinking. It's practical understanding. Major setbacks require major growth, and major growth enables major achievements. Timing is important in the setup comeback framework. The setup phase involves learning, growing, developing, preparing. The comeback phase involves applying, executing, achieving, succeeding. Most people want to skip the setup phase and go directly to the comeback phase, but setups are necessary for sustainable comebacks. Rushing the process often leads to repeated setbacks. Your response to setbacks determines their ultimate value. If you respond with self-pity, blame, or resignation, setbacks become wasted experiences that add no value to your life. If you respond with curiosity, determination, and growth mindset, setbacks become valuable investments in your future success. The same setback can either weaken you or strengthen you depending on how you choose to frame and respond to it. Develop a standard process for handling setbacks. When something goes wrong, when plans fall apart, when efforts fail, have a predetermined sequence of steps. First, acknowledge the reality of the situation without denial or drama. Second, extract the lessons from the experience. Third, identify what needs to change going forward. Fourth, create a plan for applying the lessons. Fifth, begin implementing the plan immediately. Setbacks often redirect you toward opportunities you wouldn't have discovered otherwise. The job rejection that leads to a better position. The relationship ending that opens space for a healthier one. The business failure that teaches you what you need to know for the next venture. These redirections often feel like setbacks initially, but prove to be setups for better outcomes. Community perspective helps with reframing setbacks. Share your struggles with people who understand that setbacks are normal parts of any worthwhile journey. Avoid people who will encourage self-pity or suggest that you should quit. Surround yourself with others who see setbacks as setups, who understand that temporary defeats often precede permanent victories. Document your setback-to-comeback stories. Keep a record of times when what seemed like a disaster ultimately led to something better. These stories become powerful evidence that setbacks are temporary and often beneficial. When you face new setbacks, you can remind yourself of previous times when difficulty led to growth, when problems led to solutions, when endings led to beginnings. Physical metaphors help reinforce the setup comeback framework. A spring must be compressed before it can jump. A bow must be pulled back before the arrow can fly forward. A wave must gather force before it can create impact. Your setback might be the compression, the pullback, the gathering force that enables your eventual breakthrough. Remember that comebacks are more satisfying than uninterrupted success. The person who overcomes significant obstacles appreciates their achievements more deeply than the person who never faced difficulty. The struggle makes the success meaningful. The setback makes the comeback sweet. The challenge makes the victory valuable. Your setback is not your destination, it's your preparation. It's not your conclusion, it's your education. It's not your ending, it's your beginning. The same experience that could defeat you if misinterpreted can propel you if properly framed. The difference lies not in the circumstances but in your perspective. Start reframing your current setbacks today. What is your current difficulty setting you up for? What is it teaching you? How is it preparing you? What comeback is it making possible? These questions transform you from a passive victim of circumstances into an active participant in your own development. And that transformation is often the real purpose of the setback: to change not just your circumstances, but your character. Chapter 10. Celebrate progress instead of waiting for perfection. Perfection is the enemy of progress. It's the reason most people never build momentum, never gain confidence, never develop the persistence required for long-term success. They set impossibly high standards that nobody could meet consistently, then use their inevitable failures as evidence that they should quit. They wait for the perfect plan, the perfect moment, the perfect performance before acknowledging any value in their efforts. This perfectionist mindset is particularly destructive for building mental resilience because it makes giving up seem rational. When your standard is perfection, anything less feels like failure. When your expectation is flawless execution, normal human mistakes feel devastating. When your requirement is immediate mastery, the natural learning process feels inadequate. Perfectionism doesn't drive excellence. It drives paralysis. Progress, not perfection, is the true measure of growth. Progress means you're better today than you were yesterday, even if you're not where you want to be tomorrow. Progress means you're moving in the right direction, even if you're moving slowly. Progress means you're learning, growing, developing, even if you're not yet achieving. And progress, no matter how small, deserves celebration. Celebrating progress serves multiple psychological functions. It reinforces positive behaviors by providing immediate rewards for effort. It builds confidence by highlighting improvement over time. It maintains motivation by acknowledging that your work is making a difference. It creates positive associations with challenge and difficulty. Most importantly, it trains your mind to focus on what's working instead of what's not working. Your brain notices what you pay attention to. If you constantly focus on what you haven't achieved yet, your brain will highlight all your shortcomings and generate feelings of inadequacy. If you regularly acknowledge what you have achieved, your brain will recognize your progress and generate feelings of competence. This isn't self-deception. It's strategic attention management. Start celebrating micro-progress. These are small improvements that most people overlook because they seem insignificant. You worked out for 10 minutes instead of skipping entirely. You ate one healthy meal instead of eating poorly all day. You completed one task instead of procrastinating completely. You persisted for 5 minutes longer than usual. These micro-victories might seem trivial, but they're evidence that you're capable of positive change. Process progress is often more important than outcome progress. Process progress means you're improving how you work, not just what you achieve. You're becoming more consistent, more focused, more disciplined, more resilient. These improvements in your process will eventually lead to improvements in your outcomes, but they're valuable even before the outcomes change. Create a progress tracking system that captures small improvements. This might be a journal where you record daily wins, a chart where you track consistency, or photos that show gradual change. The key is making progress visible, because what's visible is memorable, and what's memorable is motivating. Progress that isn't documented often feels like it didn't happen. Comparative progress involves measuring yourself against your past self, not against others. Ask yourself, am I stronger than I was last month? Am I more knowledgeable than I was last year? Am I more resilient than I was when I started? This type of comparison is always meaningful because you have complete information about your starting point and current position. Effort-based celebration acknowledges progress in your attempts, not just your achievements. You get credit for trying, for showing up, for putting in work, regardless of the immediate results. This is crucial for building persistence because effort is always within your control, while outcomes are often influenced by factors beyond your control. Milestone celebration involves recognizing significant markers along your journey. These might be completing your first week of a new habit, reaching your first month of consistency, or overcoming your first major obstacle. Milestones provide natural opportunities to pause, reflect, and acknowledge how far you've come before continuing toward your destination. Learning progress means celebrating the knowledge, skills, and wisdom you gain through experience, especially through mistakes and failures. Every time you learn something new about yourself, your field, or your process, that's progress worth acknowledging. Intelligence is not fixed. Capability is not permanent. Growth is always possible, and growth should always be celebrated. Difficulty progress involves celebrating your increased ability to handle challenges. You can now persist through obstacles that would have stopped you before. You can maintain focus despite distractions that would have derailed you previously. You can stay calm under pressure that would have overwhelmed you in the past. This increased resilience is profound progress. Character progress might be the most important type to celebrate. You're becoming more disciplined, more honest, more reliable, more courageous. You're developing qualities that will serve you in every area of life. These character improvements are often invisible to others but should be highly visible to you because they represent the foundation of all other progress. Avoid the comparison trap that makes your progress seem insignificant. Social media, news, and casual conversations constantly expose you to other people's highlight reels. Their success doesn't diminish your progress. Their achievements don't invalidate your efforts. Their speed doesn't determine your worth. Your only meaningful comparison is with who you were yesterday. Build celebration into your routine. Don't wait for major milestones to acknowledge progress. Create regular opportunities to recognize improvement. This might be weekly reviews where you identify 3 things that went well, monthly assessments where you measure growth, or quarterly celebrations where you acknowledge major developments. Remember that celebrating progress is not about lowering standards or accepting mediocrity. It's about maintaining motivation for the long journey toward excellence. It's about building the confidence and resilience required to persist through inevitable setbacks. It's about training your mind to see improvement instead of just inadequacy. The people who achieve the most are often those who are best at recognizing their progress along the way. They understand that motivation comes from movement, that confidence comes from competence, that persistence comes from positive reinforcement. They celebrate the small wins that compound into big victories. Your progress is real, even if it's not perfect. Your growth is valuable, even if it's not complete. Your efforts are worthwhile, even if the results aren't yet visible. Start celebrating the progress you're making instead of criticizing the perfection you're not achieving. This shift in focus will fuel the persistence you need to ultimately achieve the excellence you're pursuing. Perfect execution is not required for meaningful progress. Consistent effort is. Perfect results are not required for celebrating improvement. Measurable growth is. Perfect timing is not required for acknowledging development. Current evidence is, stop waiting for perfection to validate your efforts. Start celebrating progress to fuel your persistence. Chapter 11. Stop listening to the voice that says give up. There's a voice in your head that speaks louder during your hardest moments. It whispers when you're tired. It shouts when you're struggling. It becomes relentless when obstacles multiply. This voice has one message: give up. It will give you 1,000 reasons why quitting makes sense, why continuing is pointless, why your goals are unrealistic. But this voice is not your friend. It's not your advisor. It's the enemy of your potential. This quitting voice is not the truth. It's fear disguised as wisdom. It's weakness masquerading as reason. It's your untrained mind defaulting to its comfort zone. The voice gets stronger every time you listen to it, and weaker every time you ignore it. Champions have learned to recognize this voice immediately and refuse to negotiate with it. The quitting voice speaks in familiar phrases. This is too hard. You're not good enough. This isn't meant for you. Nobody believes in you. You've tried enough. It's time to be realistic. These statements feel true in the moment because they come from inside your own head, but they're lies designed to keep you small, safe, and stuck. Your response to this voice determines your destiny. If you engage with it, debate with it, or try to reason with it, you give it power. The quitting voice doesn't want a conversation. It wants capitulation. It doesn't seek understanding. It seeks surrender. The only effective response is immediate dismissal, followed by immediate action toward your goals. Develop a standard response to the quitting voice. When it suggests you stop, you continue. When it says you can't, you prove you can. When it offers excuses, you take action. When it highlights problems, you focus on solutions. When it emphasizes pain, you remember your purpose. This automatic response pattern weakens the voice's influence over time. Physical movement is one of the most effective ways to silence the quitting voice. When the voice gets loud, get moving. Exercise, walk, clean, organize. Do something productive with your body. Physical action changes your mental state, redirects your focus, and proves that you're stronger than your thoughts. Movement creates momentum that crowds out negativity. The quitting voice feeds on isolation and inactivity. When you're alone with your thoughts, when you're sitting still, when you're not engaged in purposeful activity, the voice grows stronger. Combat this by staying connected to supportive people and staying engaged in meaningful work. Don't give the voice space to operate unchallenged. Remember why you started when the quitting voice tries to make you forget. Your original motivation, your compelling vision, your deep purpose. These are more powerful than temporary discomfort. The quitting voice wants you to focus on current pain while forgetting future possibility. Counter this by regularly reconnecting with your why. The voice lies about the consequences of quitting. It makes giving up seem harmless, temporary, reversible. But quitting has permanent effects on your self-respect, your confidence, your identity. Every time you quit because things got difficult, you teach your mind that difficulty is sufficient reason to abandon goals. The quitting voice never mentions this long-term damage. Successful people don't avoid the quitting voice. They overcome it. They hear the same doubts, the same fears, the same resistance that everyone else hears. The difference is their response. They've trained themselves to act in spite of the voice, to persist through the noise, to continue when every internal signal says, "Stop." Track when the quitting voice appears most frequently. Is it during specific times of day, particular types of challenges, certain emotional states? Understanding your patterns helps you prepare for the voice's arrival. When you know it's coming, you can have your response ready instead of being caught off guard. The quitting voice gets desperate when you're close to breakthrough. It knows that persistence leads to success, so it intensifies its efforts when you're nearest to your goals. Many people quit right before their breakthrough because the voice becomes loudest when victory is closest. Recognize this pattern and use it as evidence that you should continue, not quit. Replace the quitting voice with a persistence voice. Train your mind to automatically respond to difficulty with thoughts of determination instead of defeat. When challenges arise, instead of hearing, "This is too hard," train yourself to hear, "This is making me stronger." Instead of, "I should quit," hear, "I should persist." This mental reprogramming takes time, but transforms your default response to obstacles. Some days the quitting voice will be barely audible. Other days it will feel overwhelming. This variation is normal. Don't be discouraged when the voice is loud. Don't become overconfident when it's quiet. Maintain consistent action regardless of the voice's volume. Your persistence should be independent of your internal noise level. The quitting voice often disguises itself as practical advice. Be realistic about your limitations. Accept that some things aren't meant to be. Focus on easier goals. But these aren't practical suggestions. They're sophisticated forms of surrender. True practicality involves finding ways to overcome obstacles, not reasons to avoid them. Create rituals that strengthen your resistance to the quitting voice. Read inspiring stories of people who persisted through similar challenges. Review your past victories over adversity. Visualize your future success. Remind yourself of the price of giving up. These rituals build mental antibodies against the quitting voice's influence. The strongest people you know still hear the quitting voice. They're not immune to doubt, fear, or resistance. They've simply trained themselves not to obey these feelings. They've learned that the voice is temporary, but their goals are permanent. They've discovered that persistence through discomfort leads to pride, while quitting leads to regret. Stop negotiating with the voice that says give up. Stop entertaining its arguments. Stop considering its suggestions. Recognize it as the enemy of your potential and treat it accordingly. The moment you hear it, take action toward your goals. Movement silences the voice. Progress defeats it. Persistence makes it irrelevant. Your mind will serve your goals or sabotage them. The choice is yours to make every single day. Chapter 12. Create non-negotiable standards for yourself. Standards are not suggestions. They're not goals you hope to achieve. They're not ideals you aspire to reach. Standards are the minimum acceptable level of performance that you demand from yourself in every situation. They're the foundation of your character, the benchmark of your integrity, the line you will not cross regardless of circumstances, emotions, or consequences. Most people live without real standards. They adjust their expectations based on their mood, their circumstances, their energy level. When they feel good, they expect more from themselves. When they feel bad, they lower the bar. This inconsistency creates an unreliable character that others can't trust and you can't respect. Standards eliminate this variability by establishing fixed requirements for your behavior. Non-negotiable means exactly that. These standards apply whether you feel like honoring them or not. They apply when it's convenient and when it's not. They apply when you're motivated and when you're not. They apply when others are watching and when no one is around. The word non-negotiable removes the option to compromise based on temporary feelings or circumstances. Your standards define your identity more than your goals define your identity. Goals are external targets you aim for. Standards are internal qualities you embody. Goals can be achieved or missed. Standards are either maintained or violated. Goals change based on growth and circumstances. Standards remain constant, regardless of external conditions. Start with basic integrity standards. You keep your word to yourself and others. You tell the truth even when it's uncomfortable. You take responsibility for your actions and their consequences. You honor your commitments regardless of how you feel about them later. These foundational standards create the character required for all other achievements. Excellence standards demand that you give your best effort in every situation. Not perfect results, but genuine effort. Not flawless performance, but full engagement. You don't mail it in because no one is watching. You don't cut corners because it won't be noticed. You don't give less than your best because the task seems unimportant. Excellence is how you do anything, not just important things. Persistent standards ensure that you don't quit when things get difficult. You finish what you start. You work through obstacles instead of avoiding them. You find solutions instead of making excuses. You persist through discomfort, boredom, frustration, and doubt. These standards make giving up inconsistent with your identity. Growth standards require continuous learning and improvement. You read, study, practice, and develop new skills regularly. You seek feedback and apply it. You challenge yourself to move beyond your comfort zone. You view mistakes as learning opportunities rather than failures. Growth becomes a requirement, not an option. Health standards protect your physical and mental well-being. You maintain consistent sleep, exercise, and nutrition habits. You manage stress effectively. You avoid substances and behaviors that compromise your health. You prioritize recovery and restoration. These standards ensure you have the energy and clarity required for everything else. Relationship standards govern how you treat others and how you allow others to treat you. You communicate honestly and respectfully. You honor your commitments to others. You set healthy boundaries. You invest in meaningful relationships while avoiding toxic ones. These standards create a supportive environment for your growth. Write down your non-negotiable standards in clear, specific language. Vague standards are meaningless standards. Instead of, "I will be healthy," write, "I will exercise for 30 minutes every day." Instead of, "I will be honest," write, "I will tell the truth even when it costs me something." Specificity makes standards actionable and measurable. Your standards should challenge you, but be achievable consistently. If standards are too low, they won't drive growth. If they're too high, they'll lead to constant failure and eventual abandonment. Find the level that requires effort and discipline but doesn't require perfection or heroic actions. Enforce your standards without exception. The moment you make an exception, you create precedent for future exceptions. The moment you negotiate with your standards, they stop being standards and become preferences. Consistency in enforcement is what gives standards their power to shape your character and behavior. Review and adjust your standards periodically, but not frequently. As you grow stronger and more capable, your standards should evolve to match your increased capacity. But change them thoughtfully and deliberately, not impulsively or emotionally. Standards should be stable enough to create reliable character, but flexible enough to accommodate genuine growth. Your standards will be tested, especially when you're tired, stressed, or facing difficult circumstances. These tests are not obstacles to your standards. They're the very situations where standards prove their value. Anyone can maintain high behavior when everything is going well. Standards matter when maintaining high behavior is difficult. Expect resistance from others when you establish and maintain high standards. Some people will call you extreme, rigid, or unrealistic. Some will pressure you to compromise, to be more flexible, to lower your expectations. This resistance often comes from people whose own lack of standards makes them uncomfortable with your consistency. Standards create freedom, not restriction. When you know exactly what you will and won't accept from yourself, decision-making becomes simpler. You don't waste energy debating whether to do the right thing. You don't struggle with choices that contradict your values. Standards eliminate internal conflict by providing clear guidelines for behavior. Your standards influence everyone around you. People observe how you treat yourself, how consistently you honor your commitments, how steadily you maintain your principles. This observation either inspires them to raise their own standards or makes them uncomfortable with their lack of standards. Either way, your consistency creates positive influence. Start with one non-negotiable standard and perfect it before adding others. Choose something that aligns with your values and challenges your current level of consistency. Commit to maintaining this standard for 30 days without exception. Once it becomes automatic, add another standard. Build your character systematically, one standard at a time. Remember that standards are not about perfection. They're about consistency. You won't meet them perfectly every time, but you'll meet them intentionally every time. When you fall short, you acknowledge it, learn from it, and immediately return to your standard. Standards create resilience by providing a clear path back to integrity after any failure. Non-negotiable standards transform you from someone who hopes to succeed into someone who demands success from themselves. They convert good intentions into reliable actions. They turn temporary motivation into permanent character. They make excellence a habit rather than an accident. This is how you build a mind that never gives up, by creating standards that never allow giving up. Chapter 13. Visualize success while working through failure. Your mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This neurological fact is either working for you or against you every single day. If you constantly visualize failure, your mind prepares for failure. If you consistently visualize success, your mind prepares for success. Most people use this powerful tool backwards, imagining everything that could go wrong while hoping everything will go right. Visualization is not wishful thinking. It's mental rehearsal. When you visualize success while working through current failures, you're programming your mind to recognize opportunities, maintain hope, and persist through difficulty. You're creating neural pathways that support success-oriented thinking and behavior patterns that align with your desired outcomes. The key is timing. Visualization is most powerful when you're actually working through challenges, not avoiding them. When you're in the middle of failure, struggling with setbacks, facing obstacles, that's when visualization serves its highest purpose. It keeps your mind connected to possibility while your body handles current reality. Effective visualization is specific, detailed, and multisensory. Don't just imagine achieving your goal. Imagine the specific moment of achievement. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel physically and emotionally? Who is there? What are they saying? The more detailed your visualization, the more real it becomes to your subconscious mind. Visualize the process, not just the outcome. See yourself persisting through the exact type of difficulty you're currently facing. Imagine yourself finding solutions to similar problems. Visualize yourself maintaining composure during comparable stress. This process, visualization, builds confidence in your ability to handle challenges and reinforces your identity as someone who persists. Use visualization to rehearse your response to future obstacles. Imagine potential setbacks and visualize yourself handling them with grace, determination, and resilience. This mental preparation reduces the shock of actual setbacks and provides pre-planned responses to difficulties. When challenges arise, you've already practiced handling them mentally. Visualization should include the emotions of success, not just the circumstances of success. Feel the pride of achievement. Experience the relief of overcoming obstacles. Sense the joy of reaching your goal. These emotional rehearsals are particularly powerful because emotion drives behavior more than logic drives behavior. When you associate positive emotions with persistence, persistence becomes automatic. Create a regular visualization practice, not just crisis visualization. Spend time each day mentally rehearsing success, ideally during quiet moments when your mind is relaxed and receptive. This consistent practice builds familiarity with success and trains your mind to default toward positive outcomes rather than negative ones. Combine visualization with affirmation to strengthen the mental programming. While visualizing success, affirm your capabilities, your determination, your worthiness of achievement. Say things like, "I am capable of overcoming any obstacle. I find solutions to every problem. I persist until I succeed." These affirmations, combined with vivid imagery, create powerful mental conditioning. Use past successes as foundation for future visualizations. Remember times when you overcame significant challenges, achieved difficult goals, or persisted through tough periods. Use these memories as evidence that success is possible and as foundation for imagining even greater achievements. Past victories prove your capability for future victories. Visualization during failure serves a crucial psychological function. It maintains hope. Hope is not passive optimism. Hope is active expectation that generates persistent effort. When you can see success clearly in your mind, even while experiencing failure in reality, you maintain the motivation necessary to continue working toward your goals. The contrast between current reality and visualized success creates productive tension. This tension generates energy for change, motivation for action, and determination for persistence. Without visualization, current failure can feel permanent. With visualization, current failure feels temporary and transformative. Make your visualizations bigger than your current problems. If you're facing small obstacles, visualize overcoming large ones. If you're dealing with minor setbacks, imagine recovering from major ones. This mental stretching builds confidence and perspective that makes current challenges feel manageable by comparison. Group visualization can amplify individual visualization. Share your vision with supportive people who believe in your potential. Ask them to help you hold the vision during difficult times. When your own visualization feels weak, borrow strength from others who can see your success clearly. Document your visualizations to make them more concrete. Write detailed descriptions of your imagined success. Draw pictures that represent your goals. Create vision boards that display your desired outcomes. These physical representations reinforce your mental images and provide external reminders of your internal vision. Expect your visualization to feel unrealistic at first, especially when you're struggling with current failures. This disconnect between imagination and reality is normal and necessary. The purpose is not to create immediate belief, but to create gradual familiarity with success. Over time, what seems impossible becomes improbable, then possible, then inevitable. Use visualization to maintain long-term perspective during short-term difficulties. Current failures are temporary events in a longer success story. Visualization helps you remember that today's struggle is tomorrow's strength. Today's obstacle is tomorrow's testimony. Today's failure is tomorrow's foundation. Remember that visualization without action is delusion, but action without visualization is often misdirected. You need both clear vision and consistent effort. Visualization provides direction for your action. Action provides foundation for your visualization. Together, they create the unstoppable combination of knowing where you're going and being willing to do what it takes to get there. Your mind is either imagining success or imaging failure. There is no neutral visualization. Choose to fill your mind with images of achievement, persistence, and victory. See yourself succeeding while you work through current setbacks. This mental programming will influence your emotions, direct your actions, and ultimately determine your outcomes. Visualize success not as escape from current reality, but as motivation to transform current reality into future achievement. Chapter 14. Build a support system that reinforces your persistence. You cannot sustain long-term persistence in isolation. The people around you either strengthen your resolve or weaken it. They either encourage your persistence or enable your quitting. They either believe in your vision or doubt your direction. Building a support system that reinforces your determination to never give up is not optional. It's essential for maintaining the mental strength required for significant achievement. Most people unknowingly surround themselves with quit enablers. These are people who, often with good intentions, encourage giving up when things get difficult. They suggest that you're being too hard on yourself, that your goals are unrealistic, that you should lower your expectations. They offer comfort instead of challenge, sympathy instead of solutions, excuses instead of encouragement. Persistence-reinforcing people think differently. They see struggle as normal, obstacles as temporary, and setbacks as opportunities for growth. They remind you of your capabilities when you forget them. They hold your vision when you can't see it clearly. They challenge you to continue when quitting seems reasonable. They provide accountability, encouragement, and perspective during your darkest moments. Identify the quit enablers in your current circle. These might be family members who worry about you, friends who want you to be comfortable, or colleagues who have settled for mediocrity themselves. You don't need to eliminate these relationships, but you need to recognize their influence and limit their input on your goals and challenges. Actively seek out persistence-minded people. These are individuals who have overcome significant obstacles themselves, who understand that growth requires discomfort, who respect determination over talent. They might be mentors, coaches, successful peers, or anyone who embodies the persistence you're trying to develop. Create multiple layers of support. You need different types of people for different types of support. Mentors who provide wisdom and perspective. Peers who share similar challenges and understand your struggles. Accountability partners who check on your progress and challenge your excuses. Cheerleaders who believe in you unconditionally and remind you of your worth. Your support system should include people who are further along the path you're walking. They serve as proof that your goals are achievable and provide guidance based on experience. Their presence reminds you that what seems impossible now is merely difficult, and what seems difficult now will eventually become routine. Be selective about who gets to speak into your life during difficult times. When you're struggling, your mind is vulnerable to negative input. Limit your conversations about challenges to people who will respond with strength, solutions, and support. Avoid people who will amplify your doubts, magnify your problems, or reinforce your desire to quit. Contribute to others' persistence as well as drawing from it. Be the kind of person for others that you need for yourself. Encourage their determination. Challenge their excuses. Support their vision. This reciprocal support creates stronger relationships and reinforces your own commitment to persistence. Use technology to expand your support system beyond your immediate environment. Join online communities of people pursuing similar goals. Follow social media accounts that promote persistence and growth. Listen to podcasts featuring people who have overcome obstacles similar to yours. These digital connections can provide daily reinforcement of persistence-oriented thinking. Document the support you receive so you can access it when supporters aren't immediately available. Save encouraging messages, record motivating conversations, write down inspiring advice. Create a personal library of support that you can access during solo struggles when external encouragement isn't immediately available. Set boundaries with people who consistently undermine your persistence. Some people feel threatened by your determination because it highlights their own lack of commitment. They may actively sabotage your efforts through criticism, distraction, or temptation. Protect your mental space by limiting exposure to these influences. Communicate your goals and standards clearly to your support system. Help them understand what kind of support serves you best. Some people need gentle encouragement. Others need firm challenges. Some benefit from detailed advice. Others prefer simple presence. Guide your supporters in how to support you most effectively. Remember that asking for support is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. Every successful person has relied on others for encouragement, accountability, guidance, and perspective. Lone wolf persistence is a myth that leads to unnecessary struggle and premature quitting. Be patient with supporters who don't always understand your vision or methods. People can only support you from their own level of understanding and experience. Accept support in the spirit it's offered, while maintaining clarity about your own direction and standards. Regularly evaluate and adjust your support system. As you grow and your challenges evolve, your support needs may change. People who were helpful at one stage might not be as helpful at another stage. This doesn't make them bad people. It makes them wrong fits for your current needs. Build redundancy into your support system. Don't depend on one person for all your support needs. If your primary supporter is unavailable, traveling, or dealing with their own challenges, you should have backup sources of encouragement and accountability. Your support system should challenge you to become better, not just feel better. The goal is not comfort during difficult times. The goal is growth through difficult times. Surround yourself with people who love you enough to challenge you, who care about you enough to hold you accountable, who believe in you enough to refuse to let you quit on yourself. The quality of your support system often determines the length of your persistence. Strong support extends your endurance. Weak support shortens your resolve. No support guarantees premature quitting. Invest in building relationships with people who share your commitment to growth, your dedication to excellence, and your refusal to give up when things get hard. Chapter 15. Make persistence your identity, not just your strategy. Strategy is what you do. Identity is who you are. When persistence is just a strategy, you use it when it's convenient and abandon it when it's not. When persistence becomes your identity, you embody it regardless of circumstances, because it's not something you do, it's something you are. This shift from strategy to identity is what transforms temporary determination into permanent character. Your identity determines your actions more than your intentions determine your actions. If you see yourself as someone who quits when things get difficult, you'll find ways to justify quitting. If you see yourself as someone who persists through challenges, you'll find ways to continue. Your behavior aligns with your self-concept automatically and consistently. Most people have a quitter identity disguised as reasonable behavior. They quit jobs when they become challenging, relationships when they require work, goals when they demand sacrifice. They rationalize these decisions as being practical, flexible, or self-aware. But in reality, they've built an identity around avoiding discomfort and abandoning difficulty. Building a persistence identity requires changing the story you tell yourself about who you are. Instead of, "I'm someone who struggles with follow-through," you say, "I'm someone who finishes what I start." Instead of, "I tend to give up when things get hard," you say, "I get stronger when things get hard." Instead of, "I'm not good at sticking with things," you say, "I'm the kind of person who persists until I succeed." Your persistence identity must be based on evidence, not just affirmation. Empty self-talk without supporting actions is meaningless. You build identity through consistent behavior that proves your character to yourself. Every time you persist when you want to quit, you're adding evidence to your persistence identity file. Start small to build identity systematically. Choose minor situations where you can demonstrate persistence and use them as identity-building exercises. Finish books you start reading. Complete workouts, even when you're tired. Honor commitments even when they become inconvenient. These small demonstrations build the foundation for larger persistence challenges. Language shapes identity more than most people realize. Stop saying, "I'll try," and start saying, "I will." Stop saying, "I hope," and start saying, "I know." Stop saying, "I might," and start saying, "I am." The words you use to describe your intentions create expectations that influence your actions. Persistence identity includes embracing difficulty as opportunity rather than avoiding difficulty as threat. When you identify as someone who persists, you start looking forward to challenges because they provide opportunities to express your character. Obstacles become chances to demonstrate who you are rather than reasons to become someone else. Your persistence identity should be internal, not dependent on external recognition. You persist because it's who you are, not because others are watching. You continue because it aligns with your character, not because it earns approval. This internal orientation makes your persistence sustainable regardless of external circumstances. Collect and celebrate persistence evidence regularly. Keep a record of times when you persisted through difficulty, overcame obstacles, or achieved goals through determination. Review these experiences frequently to reinforce your identity as someone who doesn't give up. This evidence becomes the foundation of unshakable self-confidence. Surround yourself with reminders of your persistence identity. Use visual cues, written statements, or symbolic objects that reinforce who you are. These external reminders help maintain internal clarity about your character, especially during moments when persistence feels difficult or uncertain. Your persistence identity must be tested to become real. Untested identity is just theory. Tested identity is proven character. Welcome situations that challenge your persistence because they provide opportunities to prove your identity to yourself. Each successful test strengthens your confidence in your character. Defend your persistence identity against internal and external attacks. Your old quitting patterns will try to reassert themselves. Other people may question your determination or suggest you should give up. Recognize these as attacks on your identity and respond by demonstrating your character more strongly, not by explaining or justifying it. Persistence identity creates consistency across all areas of life. When you truly identify as someone who persists, you don't compartmentalize this trait. You persist in relationships, career, health, personal growth, and any other area that matters to you. Identity creates holistic change, not isolated improvement. The ultimate test of persistence identity is what you do when no one would blame you for quitting. When circumstances are genuinely difficult, when progress seems impossible, when continuing appears irrational, that's when identity matters most. Strategy fails under extreme pressure. Identity holds under any pressure. Remember that identity is not fixed permanently. You can change who you are by changing what you do consistently. If you've been someone who gives up easily, you can become someone who persists determinedly. But this change requires more than wishful thinking. It requires consistent action that proves your new identity to yourself. Make persistence non-negotiable by making it central to your identity. When quitting contradicts who you are at your core, giving up becomes unthinkable. When persistence aligns with your deepest sense of self, continuing becomes automatic. This is the ultimate victory. When never giving up stops being something you have to remember to do and becomes something you couldn't forget to do, your mind will never give up when giving up contradicts your identity. Train your mind to see persistence as fundamental to who you are, not optional based on how you feel. Build evidence of your persistence character through daily actions. Defend this identity against all attacks. Live this identity regardless of circumstances. This is how you create a mind that is literally incapable of giving up, because giving up would require becoming someone else, and you know exactly who you are. Someone who never, ever gives up.